Catherine Wells Burr was murdered, but not in the heat of the moment or as a result of a row or a dispute. She was murdered as a result of a meticulous plan that was worked out over many months.
Wednesday morning, September 12th, 2012. In the quiet countryside of Somerset, England, the roads of Ashill near Ilminster lay almost deserted. A thick fog clung to the landscape, dulling the morning light. The world felt still. Then, through the mist, a glow. A harsh, unnatural light flickering from the side of the road. A motorcyclist, familiar with this stretch, slowed down. As he approached the source, his stomach twisted. A car, engulfed in flames. It was a Ford Focus hatchback. The fire raged through its frame, turning metal into molten ruin. Heat pulsed through the air. The motorcyclist edged closer, trying to peer inside, but the inferno's intensity forced him back. He fumbled for his phone, dialing 999, his voice unsteady as he urged emergency services to hurry. By the time the fire crew arrived, the car was a shell of what it had once been. The original color, only identifiable by faint traces of red paint clinging to the edges. But inside the driver's seat lay something far more horrifying. The remains of a young woman, unrecognizable, burned beyond recognition. This was no accident. And so began the work of the Avon and Somerset police. At the helm, Detective Chief Inspector Simon Crisp. A case unlike any other lay before them. A mystery so twisted, so calculated that it would send shockwaves across England and beyond. As firefighters battled the last embers of the burning Ford Focus, investigators scoured the area searching for any clue that could unravel the identity of the young woman inside. This wasn't just a fire. This was something far more sinister. At that same moment, miles away, Rafal Nowak had already arrived at work. It was 5:49 a.m. He worked at Pneumatic International Limited, a factory in Somerset. As always, he waited for a message from his girlfriend, the woman he expected to check in with him each morning. But today was different. Catherine Wells Burr never sent that message. Catherine wasn't just anyone. At 23 years old, she had built a promising future for herself. She worked at the same company as Rafal, but in a very different role. While he worked in the factory floor, Catherine was a business analyst. She had a career, a home, and dreams she was determined to achieve. An hour and a half passed. Nothing. Rafal's fingers tightened around his phone as he called Philip Wells Burr, Catherine's father. He worked at the same company. Maybe she had contacted him, but Philip told him that she hasn't been in touch. Rafal's response was immediate. He explained that when he left home, Catherine was still asleep. He had kissed her goodbye before heading to work, taking a taxi since his own car wasn't working. Concern spread quickly. Philip called his ex-wife Jane Wells Burr, asked her if she has heard from Catherine. The answer was no. The last time they had spoken was yesterday. Catherine had told her mother she was going grocery shopping with Rafal. That was it. The more Jane thought about it, the more a knot of unease settled in her stomach. She decided to go to Willow Way in Chard, Somerset, Catherine's home. Philip agreed to meet her there. When they arrived, Rafal was already waiting. The house was eerily quiet. Inside Catherine's bed showed signs that someone had slept there. But Catherine was nowhere to be found. Panic set in. Jane grabbed her phone and called the police. She had to report her daughter missing. But something strange happened. As she spoke to the authorities, Rafal stepped outside. He lowered his head, placing it in his hands. His shoulders trembled. The weight of the moment was crushing him, or so it seemed. Jane approached him, wrapping her arms around him, trying to offer comfort. She assured him the police would find Catherine. Maybe she had gone out and her phone had simply died. Then he whispered something, words that sent an icy shiver down her spine. He told her mom that he told her not to leave him, and his future is ruined. Jane pulled back. Something about his tone, something about those words unsettled her. When the police arrived, she didn't hesitate. She pointed at Rafal and made her feelings clear. She told the police that she think he had something to do with this. Authorities took Rafal into custody for questioning. As they drove him to the station, an alert went out to all police departments. They needed reports of missing persons. They needed to know if anyone had reported a red Ford Focus stolen or missing. At the station, Rafal was asked a simple question. They asked him if his girlfriend owned a car. He replied that she have a red Ford Focus. The atmosphere in the room shifted. The investigators exchanged glances. This wasn't just a missing persons case anymore. It was something far worse. Inside the interrogation room, Rafal insisted on his version of events. He had been at work early that morning. He had left Catherine asleep. Hours later, his alibi was confirmed. Neighbors had seen him walking to work. Security footage placed him at the factory. By the time the questioning ended, police no longer saw Rafal as a suspect. They saw him as a witness. Meanwhile, across town, Catherine's family received the news that would shatter their world. Their daughter wasn't missing anymore. She was gone. After leaving the police station, Rafal Nowak made his way to the home of Catherine Wellsbur's father. The house was filled with grief. Family and friends had gathered. Catherine's small but close-knit family of a father, mother, and sister, surrounded by those who loved her. Despite the pain in the room, Jane Wellsbur, Catherine's mother, was the first to welcome Rafal. Guilt weighed on her. She had accused him earlier, but now the police had cleared him. She tried to comfort him, holding on to him as if reassuring herself that Catherine had truly loved him. Catherine had seen a future with Rafal despite their differences. He was 8 years older than her, a Polish immigrant building his life in England. Their cultural backgrounds and lifestyles weren't the same, but none of it had mattered to her. She had loved him enough to buy a £250,000 house together, enough to take out a joint life insurance policy worth £123,000. In her eyes, he was her partner for life. As emotions ran high in the Wellsbur home, Detective Chief Inspector Simon Crisp was elsewhere, inside Catherine's house. He searched for anything that could shed light on what had happened to her. There were no signs of forced entry, no struggle. The home was spotless, everything in its place. It was as if nothing had happened. That only made things more unsettling. But then Crisp noticed something strange. The bed. For a house so meticulously organized, why was there only one pillow on the bed? Catherine and Rafal shared this space. There should have been two. And then something else. Inside the washing machine, a pillowcase. Just one. It was a detail too odd to ignore. Why would someone wash only a single pillowcase? Could it have been used to suffocate her? Or was there an innocent explanation? Crisp knew better than to jump to conclusions. He needed the autopsy report to confirm how Catherine had died. But there was another mystery unfolding right in front of him. While searching the house, officers found a second phone. It looked like it belonged to Catherine, but something was off. This wasn't her main phone, and the SIM card was missing. They sent it for analysis. With the autopsy expected to take time, the investigation turned to Catherine's final hours. The last confirmed sighting of Catherine was on Tuesday evening. Security footage showed her and Rafal at a supermarket. They walked through the aisles, holding hands, picking out groceries. She looked happy, carefree. She had no idea that this meal would be her last. There was no sign of distress. Nothing unusual. If anything had happened, it had to be after they returned home. So what had taken place inside that house? That answer would unlock the truth. The best lead investigators had was the mystery phone. When they retrieved its data, what they found sent shockwaves through the case. The phone belonged to Catherine, but it held secrets no one expected. There were recent visits to adult websites and dating platforms. Among them was an account under the name CAFX101, a username clearly inspired by her nickname, Calf. One site stood out, speeddate.com. Police traced her activity and discovered something even more alarming. Catherine had been in contact with another man, a man who had repeatedly asked to meet her in person. She had refused him, and he hadn't taken it well. Threatening messages filled the conversation history, words laced with anger, frustration, warnings. This wasn't the Catherine her family knew. This wasn't the devoted, loving young woman they had described. Had Catherine been leading a double life? Or was something else at play? Detective Simon Crisp couldn't shake the questions from his mind. Was Catherine Wellsbur really living a double life? If so, why? And if not, Then what explained the troubling discoveries on her second phone? To find answers, he needed to understand who she really was. Born on January 10th, 1989, Catherine Wells Burr was the kind of person everyone spoke about with warmth. Her family described her as kind, loyal, and full of life. She was hardworking, ambitious, and deeply devoted to her loved ones. She wasn't just a daughter. She was her parents' pride. A young woman who had always set goals and met them with determination. Catherine had been an exceptional student, earning a first-class degree in business management from Bath Spa University. She was someone with a future mapped out, someone who was building her career step by step. After graduating, she secured a job at Pneumatic International, the well-known company behind Henry vacuum cleaners. But her ambition didn't stop at just having a job. She wanted a life of stability and growth. That's when Rafal Nowak entered her world. Catherine met Rafal Piotr Nowak in the summer of 2010, while they were both working at Pneumatic International. He was different. Older, confident, covered in tattoos. A man with a mysterious past. She was drawn to him. Nowak was a Polish immigrant whose life had been far from easy. He had married young in Poland and had a teenage son. But work was scarce, and financial struggles weighed him down. His troubles ran deeper than just money. In Poland, he had been involved in a serious car crash while driving under the influence. He was fined £6,500 because his insurance wouldn't cover the damage. In 2007, he left Poland for Ireland, seeking a better life. But he didn't stay long. In 2008, financial strain ended his marriage. Before leaving Poland permanently, he was convicted of assaulting his ex-wife. By September 2008, he had moved to Somerset, England, hoping to start fresh. No one could say for sure how much Catherine knew about Rafal's past. Did she know about his troubled history in Poland? His criminal record? His failed marriage? Or did she only see the man in front of her, the one she had fallen for? What was certain was that by February 2012, Catherine had fully committed to him. They moved in together, buying a house worth £250,000. They even took out a joint life insurance policy worth £123,000. To her, this wasn't just a relationship. This was her future. Detective Simon Crisp had spent days trying to untangle the contradictions in Catherine Wells Burr's case. Everything about her past pointed to a hard-working, loving young woman devoted to her family and her boyfriend. There was no sign of deception, no hint of a double life. Yet, someone had carefully built an online identity that portrayed her as something else. Someone had painted a picture of Catherine as a woman leading multiple relationships, a woman who played with people's emotions. This didn't add up. And then there was Rafal Nowak, a recent immigrant, a man whose past was filled with questionable decisions. His relationship with Catherine had been serious, a home, life insurance, a future. But could he have had a reason to betray her? If he did, the police couldn't prove it. The evidence was airtight. CCTV footage confirmed he had been at work that morning. Neighbors had seen him leave the house. For Crisp, it was like a puzzle with a missing piece. So, he returned to the second phone again. If this was the key to unmasking the truth, he needed to go deeper. This time, they would trace the IP address linked to the accounts that had portrayed Catherine in a false light. The results came in fast. All the accounts, all the messages, had been created and sent from a single location: South Street, Taunton, England. This meant one of two things. Either Catherine had been secretly living in a second home, something no one believed, or the real culprit lived there, and had been orchestrating something far bigger than anyone realized. It didn't take long for police to pinpoint the exact address. And when they did, the entire case turned on its head. The house on South Street belonged to Anna Lagwinowicz. She was Polish, 32 years old, and had been living in England since 2006. She had no criminal history, no signs of trouble, but there was one connection that changed everything. A deep dive into her past revealed shocking details. She had moved to Taunton, Somerset in 2006, living with her boyfriend, her uncle Tadeusz Dimitryshin, and another tenant. When the detectives dug deeper to find out who her boyfriend was, they discovered that Rafal Nowak was the one she had once been in a relationship with. Rafal Nowak had been her partner from 2008 to 2010. Their relationship had ended when Rafal met Catherine. Or at least, that's what Catherine believed. Because police uncovered something even more unsettling. Anna and Rafal had continued seeing each other in secret until 2011, 1 year into his relationship with Catherine. And when Rafal officially moved in with Catherine in 2012, Anna had refused to let go. She had stalked him. Police records showed that Anna had not accepted the breakup. She had tried repeatedly to contact Rafal, following him, sending messages, refusing to be forgotten. Now, the pieces of the puzzle were coming together. Had Anna Lagwinowicz plotted revenge against Catherine? Had she created the fake dating profiles, making it look like Catherine was cheating to damage her reputation? Had she lured Catherine into a trap, all in a twisted plan to remove her from the picture and reclaim Rafal? It seemed logical. It seemed like the case was solved. But what the detectives were about to uncover next would change everything. Before investigators could knock on Anna Lagwinowicz's door, the autopsy report arrived. The cause of death: asphyxiation. This changed everything. Catherine had already lost her life before being placed inside the burning car. Someone had silenced her first, and then tried to cover their tracks by setting the vehicle ablaze. Detective Simon Crisp replayed every piece of evidence in his mind. There were no signs of forced entry at Catherine's home. The bed had only one pillow. Was the missing one used to suffocate her? If so, why would the killer wash the pillowcase instead of disposing of it? And the biggest question of all, if Anna Lagwinowicz was the mastermind behind this, how did she get inside the house without Rafal noticing? Unless Rafal knew exactly what had happened. The case now hinged on one thing: proving that Rafal Nowak and Anna Lagwinowicz were still involved after he moved in with Catherine. If police could establish that their relationship hadn't ended, it would be the smoking gun. Once again, the answer came from digital forensics. Tech experts uncovered a key moment in Catherine's online activity. In July 2012, just 2 months before her death, Catherine unfriended Rafal on Facebook. Shortly after, she posted a cryptic message: "How can you start a new chapter if you keep rereading the old one?" Then, in August 2012, she added him back as a friend. This detail was critical. It suggested Catherine had discovered something about Rafal's past, or possibly his ongoing connection to Anna. And if Catherine had started questioning him, that made her a threat to whatever secret he was hiding. Now, all detectives needed was a confession from Anna Lagwinowicz. When police searched Anna's home, the discoveries were shocking. Her computer history confirmed that she had created the fake dating accounts that made it seem like Catherine was living a double life. In her car, officers found the missing SIM card from the second phone found at Catherine's house. When confronted with the evidence, Anna didn't deny it. But her explanation was unexpected. She admitted to setting up the fake profiles, but claimed it was out of jealousy. She swore she had nothing to do with Catherine's death. Was she telling the truth? Or was this just another layer of deception in a crime far more twisted than anyone imagined? Detectives weren't convinced by Anna Lagwinowicz's claims. She wanted them to believe that she had only acted out of jealousy, that her role in Catherine's life ended at creating fake online profiles. But the investigators knew better. They decided to push her further. They told her they had solid evidence proving she was involved in the crime. They even mentioned July 2012, implying they knew what had happened that summer. It was a gamble, a psychological trick, and it worked. Anna broke faster than they had expected. Under pressure, Anna confessed to a crucial event that had happened months before the crime. She admitted that in July 2012, Rafal Nowak had been at her home, intending to be intimate with her. But they weren't alone. Catherine had found out. She had walked in on them. Anna insisted that Rafal had been fully dressed at the time, which was the only reason Catherine believed his story. He convinced Catherine that he had only gone to Anna's house to end things for good, that she was the one who refused to move on. But when detectives pressed further, "Did your relationship with Rafal continue after that?" Her response was the missing piece they needed. Yes. This was it. The proof that Rafal had been lying all along. With this admission, the police could finally charge both Rafal Piotr Nowak and Anna Julia Lagwinowicz. But they weren't finished yet. They needed physical proof to lock in their guilt. Detectives tracked the movements of Anna Lagwinowicz's car in the days leading up to Catherine's death. What they found confirmed everything. September 9th, 2012, 3 days before the crime, Anna and Tadeusz Dimitrizin, her uncle, were caught on CCTV at a Morrison's supermarket in Taunton. Dimitrizin was seen filling a 5-liter container with gasoline. Anna paid for it. On September 12th, 2012, CCTV near Catherine's home picked up Anna's car parked nearby. Then, at 4:50 a.m., cameras captured a chilling sight. Anna Lagwinowicz and Tadeusz Dimitrizin were seen carrying Catherine's lifeless body out of the house. At 5:17 a.m., a text message was sent from Catherine's phone to a number linked to one of the fake dating profiles. It was a calculated move, a final attempt to stage the crime. The message was meant to make it seem like Catherine was still alive, that she had gone to meet another lover. This also explained Rafal's eerie words to Catherine's mother. "I told her not to go." It was an act, a performance. He wanted to appear as the heartbroken boyfriend who had just discovered Catherine had betrayed him. But now, the truth was out. This wasn't a crime of passion. This was a cold-blooded, premeditated act, and all 3 of them were in on it. Even with overwhelming evidence against her, Anna Lagwinowicz still believed she could outsmart the investigators. While held at Eastwood Park Prison, she made one last attempt to twist the narrative. She wrote a letter in Polish, detailing an alternative version of events, one that conveniently shifted all the blame onto Rafal Nowak. She handed the letter to a fellow inmate, asking her to smuggle it out and send it to the Crown Prosecution Service, CPS. But the plan backfired. Instead of helping her, the cellmate turned the letter over to the police. In her handwritten confession, Anna claimed Rafal Nowak had hired a hitman for £20,000 to take her out. At the last minute, he changed his mind and ordered the hitman to target Catherine instead. After the crime, Rafal was ecstatic, even removing the tape from Catherine's mouth, fastening her seatbelt, and kissing her forehead before setting the car on fire. She ended the letter with a dramatic statement. "I admit what I did, but I will never turn myself in because I don't want to spend the rest of my life in prison. I swear that every word in this letter is true." The police weren't fooled. The letter was written in Anna's own handwriting. There was no evidence of a hitman, no payments, no phone records, nothing. It was a desperate attempt to frame Rafal alone and protect herself and her uncle, Tadeusz Dimitrizin. Now, with every detail laid bare, the prosecution was ready to take the case to court. On April 16, 2013, the trial of Rafal Nowak, Anna Lagwinowicz, and Tadeusz Dimitrizin began at Bristol Crown Court. The lead prosecutor, Richard Smith, QC, wasted no time laying out the brutal truth. This was never just a crime of passion. This was about greed. Nowak and Anna wanted to get rid of Catherine to cash in on her life insurance policy, £123,000. They also wanted control over her half of their house, valued at £137,000. Anna was consumed with jealousy. She wanted Nowak back. And together, they had planned every detail. They created a web of deception. Anna set up fake dating profiles to make Catherine look unfaithful. They used prepaid SIM cards to stage fake messages. They made their final preparations. On September 9th, 2012, Anna and Tadeusz Dimitrizin went to Morrison's in Taunton. Dimitrizin purchased 5 liters of gasoline. Anna paid for it. The night of the crime, September 12th, 2012, 2 a.m. to 3 a.m. Nowak set his alarm to vibrate so Catherine wouldn't wake up. The prosecution believed he suffocated her using a pillow, preventing her from making a sound. A missing pillow from the bed was never found, but a matching pillowcase was discovered freshly washed. Damage to the headboard suggested Nowak may have braced himself with his foot while pressing down. 4:50 a.m., Anna and Tadeusz Dimitrievich arrived at Catherine's home. They carried her body out and placed it in her red Ford Focus. 5:10 a.m., Nowak left for work, making sure to be seen by neighbors. A witness noticed that Catherine's car was already gone, further proving she didn't leave on her own. 5:17 a.m., Anna sent a fake text from Catherine's phone to the prepaid SIM card they had set up. This was meant to suggest that Catherine was still alive and meeting another lover. 6:22 a.m. Motorists reported a burning vehicle on the A358 in Ashill, Somerset. Firefighters arrived to find Catherine's body inside. 7:40 a.m. Anna was seen at a recycling center in Bridgewater, likely disposing of evidence. 8:20 a.m. She went to a car wash, trying to remove any traces of the crime from her vehicle. June 7th, 2013. After weeks of testimony, the jury reached a unanimous verdict. Rafał Nowak, guilty Anna Lagwinowicz, guilty Tadeusz Dimitrievich, guilty the sentence life in prison with a minimum of 32 years for all three. Catherine's family finally had justice. But their loss was permanent. A young woman with a bright future had been taken, not in a moment of rage, but through a cold, calculated plan fueled by greed and jealousy. And despite their efforts to cover it up, truth had prevailed. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe for more true crime documentaries. See you in the next video.